We just want to make sure it's recording.
Mike, you don't
So what happened?
Everyone can please rise for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Gina, could you please call the roll?
Trustee Gray?
Present.
Trustee Holtz? Absent. Trustee Rogers?
Present.
Trustee Sweet?
Present.
Trustee Cosmino?
Present.
Trustee Burrian?
Present.
Mayor Duke?
Present. Are there any amendments to the agenda? Okay. Reports and communications from mayor and other officers. Mayor's report, 151st Street Corridor Improvements Open House. The Village of Homer Glen cordially invites all persons interested in the project to attend an open house public meeting concerning the proposed improvement plan for 151st Street, from Cedar Road to Bell Road. The meeting will take place on Thursday, February 13th, 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. at Village Hall. So that's here tomorrow. The purpose of this meeting is to discuss for proposed improvements and the project schedule and to provide information to the area residents, businesses, and just to summarize the project quickly, the proposed project will include a center turning lane and a pedestrian path extension from Bell Road to Cedar Road. It will not be widened to 4 lanes. It has been inaccurately reported in the public. The village has been working on this project since 2016 and will apply for grant funds. Update on the sports complex feasibility study. I've been asked about the status of the Phase 2 feasibility study that was authorized in December of last year. The village continues to discuss the project with potential private investors, including their financial and program commitments. As these discussions are still ongoing, we have not executed the agreement with SFA for the Phase 2 report. I understand this would be a large undertaking and want to ensure that we have full commitment and understanding from the private contributors towards the project that could greatly benefit the village for many years to come. Last for me is, it's snowing out. The streets are nasty. That's my car in the ditch, so yes, I fell in the ditch. So I'm just telling everyone, slow down a little bit, stay on your side of the road, and everyone will be safe. We'll go to the trustees, and we'll start with Trustee Gray.
Thank you, Mayor. No report tonight.
Trustee Berry.
No report, Mayor. Just a quick thank you to all our committee members that came out last night and participated in the, I thought it was a very useful exercise. Took up 3 hours of everyone's time, and it was a good crowd of our volunteers on the committee, so just a thank you to them.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you. Next will be Trustee Rogers.
Most of what I have to say will be covered underneath the workshop items.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Cosmino.
No report.
Thank you. Trustee Sweet.
No report, Mayor.
Thank you. Village Attorney.
No report, Mayor.
Thank you. Public safety officials.
Real quick, Mayor.
You were out there. Jeff came and got me.
That was me that pulled up by him to see if he wanted anybody else. I was with another
I didn't
one.
want anyone.
Yeah.
I was perfectly fine sitting in that car, nobody knowing who it was.
I got you. Honesty is the best policy, right?
Yes, it is.
Hey, real quick, everybody. With the car burglaries in the southwest suburbs, we've gotten onto a campaign as far as notifying the public, working with the village on that. Be it via their Facebook site, because a lot of people go on Facebook now, and also on the fire district's boards outside their different stations. And thank you for the suggestion there, Beth, on that.
Sure.
And just, if you see something, say something. That's what we want to say. And us putting a message out over and over, like repeatedly on Facebook and that, is not to insult anybody's intelligence. We all get busy, right? We forget to do things. We're creatures of habit, but sometimes we'll forget to lock a door or something. So seeing it on a station message board, might say, remind somebody, or Facebook when they're at the end of the night, if they're trying to chill out and just look through some messages, oh yeah, let me just double check and make sure I lock something. So that's why we do that. And the public's been very good about getting information to us. So we can't do it alone. We do it with the public, with the village board, other public safety officials, and especially the public. We want to work hand in hand with everybody. So with that, that's my report.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Last, the village manager.
No report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. We have a couple, want to make sure that we have the microphone on. It is. Joe wasn't speaking. It's on. Okay. First, Chuck Miller. If you could please say your address and then we can...
Okay. My name is Chuck Gaylor and I'm president of the Homeowners Association in Middlecrest. My address is 12120 Aston Lane in Homer, Glen. Tonight I've got a couple of questions on the drainage issues that we've had for several years of our retention area in the back that floods in the spring and fall if there's heavy rain. A couple of comments. I know in March of last year you awarded a contract to HR Green for $74,000 to do a study on 4 of the subdivisions. They were Meadowcrest, Statler Ridge, Country Wood, and Chickasaw Hills to study drainage areas in those 4 subdivisions. In October of last year, you awarded a contract for just a hair under $500,000 to address the areas in Statler Ridge and Country Woods, leaving Meadowcrest and Chickasaw Hills out there. My question tonight, probably address it to Mike because we've talked several times before, is as far as HR Green's contract is, where are we at as far as looking at what we need to do for our subdivision?
As you said, the HR Green was contracted to do drainage study and engineering plans for 4 subdivisions. 2 of those subdivisions, the engineering plans have been completed. Those projects have been were put out for bid. Contract was awarded. One of them has actually started. The Country Woods project has actually started. The other 2 projects, the Meadowcrest subdivision and the Chickasaw Hills subdivision, are more complicated and are requiring more detailed, probably work with surrounding property owners and various other governmental entities. So those are going to take a little bit longer. They have some concept plans, but no plans have been approved as of yet, but they still are working on those.
Does HR Green have an idea when they're going to be finished with our subdivision as far as whatever their plans to take care of ours?
Our goal is still to get those plans completed this year and go out for bid sometime later this year.
Okay, so the goal is to still try and get our project done by the end of 2020.
At the very least, the construction started. It depends on how long the additional work takes. But it is our goal to try to get that, like I said, out for bid and get it started sometime this year.
With the subject being complex, I know we have to deal with Cook County, because our water flows into Cook County, flows into a private farmer's field, from what I understand. Are there scheduled meetings with either one of those 2 to get that project started on their radar?
We have not scheduled those meetings as of yet.
Do you have a plan to schedule those meetings?
We will be scheduling those sometime very soon.
Okay. When you get dates for those meetings, I'm sure you have my email. Would you inform me of when those meetings are set up?
Sure.
All right. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. My comments get out of the bridge. Hold on. Next, Joe Burke, Larry Burke, about the park.
We just didn't necessarily have a big statement. I was commenting because I thought there was going to be a vote tonight on the park for the Glenview Walk Estates. And just curious on, all we want to say, we're going to be the folks living right next door to it. So the only request we would have is that the park is built, and we haven't even, our house is being built right now, but it is gonna be the house that's sort of our neighbor would be to the right, will be the park. So, what we're asking is if there is a park, could it sort of be centralized as opposed to sort of on top of our property so that it's more in the middle where there's space on both sides?
Well, the plot for the park is pie-shaped, with, as I'm sure you know, with the largest part being towards the sidewalk and the narrowest part being down by our home. So we're hoping that the park would be built where the lot is the largest and not back by us. And we were also wondering if there were going to be lights or if this was going to be a dawn till dusk kind of a children's park rather than, you know, having lights go on basically in our bedroom window. So these are just concerns that we have, that we're building this home here, and we are not at all against a park. You know, our children are grown, but, you know, they used parks a lot when they were little, and they were great. But we're hoping that this will be a children's park.
Yeah, we just didn't want basketball courts or something, I mean, something that was gonna be shining, you know, so if we're sitting out, because it is, like I said, right outside of our door, our window, in our bedroom we built, here's a view of this pond, and we built it for that, but obviously we built it after subdivision was there, and there's a lot of kids, so we get all that. We're just trying
Absolutely.
to state our fact and our compromise if we can.
So we were just wondering if there were any more details about the park.
I can answer that for you. We have a workshop today, so you're at the right meeting.
Good.
So after we get through the regular agenda, we're going to go into workshop for the board to discuss the next steps for the park. So stick around, and we're going to have some additional slides to talk about it.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. That's it for public comment. That's it. Next on the agenda is consent agenda. All matters listed under the consent agenda are considered routine by the village board and will be enacted by one motion. Is there a motion to approve the following items? 1. Accounts payable for the period of January 24th, 2020 through February 13th, 2020 in the amount of $481,456.18. 2. The Village of Homer Glen's December legal bills from Mahoney, Silverman & Cross LLC in the amount of $3,802.50. 3. The Village's 2020 membership dues to the Will County Governmental League in the amount of $17,429.83. 4. An intergovernmental agreement with Will County for the household hazard waste event scheduled for March 14th, 2020. 5. An agreement between the Forest Preserve District of Will County and the Village of Homer Glen for final restoration work and monitoring of the maintenance requirements related to the construction of the Fittyman Creek Sanitary Sewer Project in the amount of $65,620. 6. A motion to approve retaining Rettinger, Tonelli and Associates, Inc., RT&A, for professional GIS services for 2020. And 7, a motion to waive building department fees for Homer Township Fire Protection District for an upcoming parking lot project for Fire Station Number 2, 16133 South Bell Road. Is there a motion?
16131. So moved.
I'll second.
Trustee Gray, Trustee Suisse. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Gray?
Aye.
Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Trustee Suisse?
Aye.
Trustee Berman?
Aye.
Trustee Pensmino?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next, legislation and action items. Is there a motion to approve ordinance number 20-002, an ordinance granting a variance to permit fiber cement siding on the first floor of the dwelling in lieu of the exterior construction standards required that stone or brick material cover 100% of the aggregate total of all first floor or story exterior walls, exclusive of doors, windows, and associated trim. 76-67A. Applicant applicability and scope type building or structure on Chapter 75 buildings of the Code of the Village of Homer Glen for certain real property located in the R4 Single Family Residential District at 13215 West Anagata Trail, Homer Glen, Illinois.
So moved.
Trustee Rogers,
Second.
trustee Durian. Discussion?
I have a comment. Because I don't care for fiberboard to begin with, but I think the back of the house looks a lot nicer than the front. Is there any way you could put more stone cladding in the front to make it look a little bit more attractive?
Yes, we certainly could if the board thinks that that is a requirement. I know on the one face by the what would be the right face of the garage, if you go up further on the property there, that would be one option, I guess.
I think it looks beautiful the way it is.
I have a question on the back side where the second floor windows are. Is that roofing material there? What is that?
Yes, that's a covered porch going over the backside. So that's roofing going up to the second level.
On both sides of the window?
Yeah, on both sides of the window, yes.
Because it's angled. Oh, I see.
Yes.
It's hard to see it.
Yeah.
Thank you, trustee Burien, for these pictures.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, I agree with trustee Pasquino. I think it's a beautiful house. I think it, trustee Burien brought us some additional pictures from the neighborhood showing us that there are other houses in the neighborhood that are either all frame, some mix of some stone or some masonry products. So it's not like this is completely out of the realm of what the neighborhood is. Some of the pictures we initially saw did make it look that way, but if this is built as these are depicted here, this is going to be a beautiful home.
Thank you.
I agree.
Just quickly, the reason why I went into the pictures was this was, in talking to some board members, this was a difficult one for me, only because I think I come to it from a standpoint where I want to help people build beautiful homes, not look for reasons not to. But when I flip through our packet, one of the things we've always pretty consistently had is comparables in the neighborhood that allow us to say, okay, it's similar to other homes in the neighborhood. The comparables we had in the packet, were those pictures you took, were those pictures we took?
I sent those pictures in with
Okay.
various requests.
So the comparables in the packet, every single one of them had first floor brick. And so that's not comparable, and that's where I struggled. That's why I went out, took pictures, and identified other homes that have 0 brick, a 0 stone within the surrounding couple of blocks. Because I want to be careful that we don't open up Pandora's box. Our standards are first floor brick, as we sit here today. That may be something we address in the future, may not be, but I didn't want to open up Pandora's box by approving something in which I was giving no pictures of any other homes in the neighborhood that were similar in not having all first floor brick. All those pictures did, and a couple of homes on the block that you're building on, those are all brick. And so with that, after seeing, I think similar examples, this one, for example, is very similar in architecture and is on the next block. I'm comfortable with the variance.
I appreciate that. Thank you for that effort.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
We never looked yet.
Yes.
Congratulations anyway.
Is there any other discussion? Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Trustee Pasquino.
Aye.
Trustee Burien.
Aye.
Trustee Suisse.
No.
Trustee Rogers.
Aye.
Trustee Gray.
Aye.
Motion carries. Now, congratulations. All right, is there a motion to approve ordinance 20-003 ordinance proposing the establishment of a special service area, SSA, for the square, including Grove, providing for a public hearing on this matter.
I so move.
Trustee Slees,
Second.
trustee Gray, discussion?
Director Gotti, do you want to just explain to residents
Sure.
what we're doing here?
Yeah.
As far as village protection works?
So this is a follow-up to the development agreement the village had passed in March 2019 for the Oak Creek Development Partners. That is the townhome development by Home Depot. So when the property is closed, the requirement was that the village would come back and establish a backup SSA to take care of the common areas. And this will be a dormant SSA unless, it's needed. No taxes will be levied or collected. So tonight, we're simply proposing establishing the SSA. We'll come back on March 11th for a public hearing on this matter. So this is the first step of the process for establishing the SSA.
If I could, I'd just like to expand on what Director Gotti said. It's in case the HOA there for that particular development were to cease to exist or go dormant, and there were matters that needed to be remedied. The cost for that would not fall to all the taxpayers of the village. It would only fall to the taxpayers of that particular special service area. So it's only the homeowners in that development that would pay. If this triggered a tax levy, it would only be on those properties. So essentially, it would just pay for a policy essentially to make a new homeowners association to take care of those common area properties in there. So should that happen down the road, there, some people are sometimes a little bit spooked about communities like that, where are we going to end up paying for that over time as the rest of the village? And that would not be the case if this SSA were triggered. The cost would still continue to fall to those homeowners and only to those homeowners.
Any other questions or concerns?
I would just add, which government could move as fast as they moved on that first model.
Yeah, right.
So it was good.
All right, Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Trustee Gray.
Aye.
Trustee Rogers.
Aye.
Trustee Sweet.
Aye.
Trustee Burman.
Aye.
Trustee Penzino.
Aye.
Motion carries. Number 3, is there a motion to recommend approval of resolution number 20002, a resolution adopting a complete streets policy for the village of Homer Glen?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Trustee Rogers and trustee Penzino, discussion.
Director Salamowicz, do you want to explain this? Because some of this seems like common sense.
Sure. Basically, so complete streets are streets designed and operated to enable safe use and support mobility for all users. So basically what that means is for any roadway projects, what we're going to be looking to do is try to accommodate not only vehicular traffic, but we're going to be looking at ways to accommodate pedestrians, bicycles, as well as any public transportation if possible. We will look at opportunities to add sidewalks, bike trails, where appropriate, bus shelters, things of that nature. So anytime we're doing any kind of roadway projects, these are kind of things that we're going to be looking at. Will everything be able to be accommodated in a project? Maybe not. But what we want to do is kind of set a policy that we're going to be looking at these things and looking at ways to try to improve access for those roads for anybody, drivers, pedestrians, bicyclists, anybody on those roads. Just kind of as we, with the 151st Street project, we're including a bike trail as part of that project. 159th Street, we included sidewalks and bike trail. That was something that was added by the village. And then, of course, 143rd Street, the county is going to be widening that section. So we've been in contact with the county and are working with the county to add a bike trail along that project as well, too. So it's just a policy that we look, for any roadway projects, whether we're doing it or if it's something that a developer is building a new subdivision, we're going to be asking them to try to accommodate bicycles and things of that nature.
And all we're trying to be is transparent and let all residents know exactly what we're doing. It's in the newspapers here. You can fill them in too. Thank you, Michael. You're very welcome. Is there any other comments? Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Trustee Petrino?
Aye.
Trustee Burman?
Aye.
Trustee Sweet?
Aye.
Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Trustee Gray?
Aye.
Motion carries. Number 4, is there a motion to approve an agreement between the Village of Homer Glen and Found Design LLC, doing business as Berger, for professional and technical assistance in conjunction with the Village of Homer Glen's branding plan project in the amount of $24,950 plus a maximum not to exceed $2,750 for one additional travel trip as needed by mutual agreement.
So moved.
Trustee Gray,
Second.
trustee Burman, discussion?
Mayor, I'd just like to start that by saying that we had a focus group. We had several staff members and volunteers who sat in. We interviewed, we actually put out the RFP. We got 6 responses. We interviewed 3. We narrowed it down to merge based on a bunch of criteria. But one of the bigger criteria we really liked was the fact that they're based in Pennsylvania, so they kind of have a fresh eyes look at our village. Some of the other ones, while it wasn't a detriment to them, they are local. They've worked in almost all the communities around us. We all know that whether you like to or not, you start to preconceive things. So we like the idea that a firm coming in from out of town would have a fresh look at us. We also like their work that they've done for other communities. They're going to help us out with some kind of cohesive branding where we can go out to the market. Right now, the village is still young. We're using numerous identities for ourselves, and it's getting a little confusing, and this is hopefully going to rein that back in and give us one brand identity that we can go forward with, and maybe ligature off that for like community and economic development corridors and parks and things like that, so that we can really bind this back together, and people, when they see a mark, they'll know that it's Homer Glen. It will not change the seal that's up behind you, Mayor. That is not part of the scope of this, so the seal will not be being changed. It's really just our identity out there in the marketplace. Another nice thing we liked about merge was when we weighed it all out, the next runner-up was very close in qualifications and everything, and work, the scope of their work, but the pricing was very, very different, so it made it easier for us to go with one out of town as well. So.
Happy to hear that. Any other comments?
I would just, well said, Trustee Graham. I think you covered all of it. It was a good group. It was a collaborative group. It started in CED. Got put forward with a recommendation from CED. Jamie, Sue, Matt, am I missing any others? Melissa, Mark from CED was also a participant in this. And as we went through the process and went through the interviews, I won't repeat what Keith said. I think he said it perfectly. I think it's good when, as a group, we came to a consensus on this firm merge. And I think it's great when you come to a consensus on someone based on their qualifications, and they also are the lowest price. And that wasn't necessarily the case. I mean, we didn't rank it that way, but I think they were, regardless of price, I think we all agreed they probably had the best background. But it was a collaborative effort and lots of input and lots of time. And so thank you to staff, thank you to Mark. This is our recommendation.
And with the branding, it should be able to make it easier for residents to get through the village, because it's going to have signs explaining where everything is, and should make it a lot easier. Thank you, everyone. So, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Gray?
Aye.
Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Trustee Sweet?
Aye.
Trustee Burman?
Aye.
Trustee Petrino?
Aye. Motion carries. Okay. Is there a motion to approve TRIA Architecture's proposal for architectural and engineering services for selected phases of Heritage Park in the amount of $450,468.24?
So moved.
Trustee Burman,
Second.
trustee Gray, discussion.
I don't think we can potentially approve something of this magnitude without having Mr. Tracos
Speak.
at least come out to the podium and put you to work and
I didn't see him hide there. Still dazed from the car. Hello, Jim.
Hi, good evening. Any questions on proposals, the scope, breaking them out? So we broke out the playground swing set first, because that's kind of a simple one. We're hoping to get it in and done as soon as possible. And then the main stuff, the bigger stuff for later.
I have one quick question for you, not a question, it's probably just a correction. It's the second physical page on the back side of it, under initial project schedule, it's about halfway down. It says substantial completion by September 4th, 2021. This is just for the swings, I believe that it's supposed to be this year, right? So the second physical page of our, again, this is our packet piece, so
Yep.
sorry, you might not have the cover sheet up.
Yep.
It says substantial completion shall be on or about September 4th, 2021. And again, this is, I believe, just for the swing set.
Yeah.
That's supposed to be this year, right?
That's this year, 2020.
Actually, the contract will need to be amended because the contract says 2021 too. Substantial completion shall be on or about September 4th, 2021. It's the second page of the contract. It's page 2 of 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, for the swing set?
Yeah, so it should be 2020.
Yeah, you can just
Yeah.
circle it, change it.
And initial it.
We're
We'll
good.
do that.
The other thing I'd like to, a comment I'd like to make is, I know $450,000 is a lot of money. To bring to Trustee Burion's point, you know, we're going to spend a fair amount of money on this next flush at the park, and, you know, to shortchange it at this juncture would probably be pennywise and pound foolish. But I do like that on the cover sheet that we got, it does say the cost of the proposal is 6.7% of the estimated construction cost, and this is a competitive rate and below the industry average of 10 to 15%. So I do appreciate all the effort that went into getting that line of copy in there as well. So.
And if everybody remembers how I promised that when we did the schematic design, that portion for those projects, I would give it credit for that. It calculates everything in that. So subtracted all those items. So I made sure everything was in order.
Appreciate it.
Well,
I do have a comment.
okay.
Trustee Peach, go ahead.
Yeah, this is a park, you know, right?
Yes.
And everywhere I look, all I see is thousands of dollars for tree removal. Open play, $3,500 tree removal. Village Hall, another $8,000 worth of tree removal. Village Green, $20,000 worth of tree removal. Maybe, you know, that's craziness. You know, this is we're supposed to work around some of the natural settings. And, you know, it just incenses me when I see that.
I totally understand. And I think you've got HR Green and Lori and from JSD on their toes about everything. I mean, you know, in the active core, we kept the trees that were
Oh,
out
yeah,
there.
and then there's one over by, there's another tree removal over there back in that section.
Just with the
$2,500.
something has to, we have to remove some trees just for the mere fact that I can't make a village green and amphitheater go in the size of what was an old golf course hole, right, a fairway. That's how this entire place is laid out. There's trees on either side of the fairway that are 40, 50 yards wide. I can't make everything fit in there because you would have horrible spaces, you would have horrible views, you'd have the active core would not even be an active core, it would just look like paths and zigzags and you wouldn't see one end to the other. So we are installing a lot of trees, we're putting a lot of things back in, the design always has that, you can see the active core, we kept the big beautiful trees. Part of that is because you called that to our attention and made sure, and those weren't on the original survey, so we went out and verified, and yeah, we agree. Absolutely, you can incorporate that into the design.
You can, yeah, especially like with the project out here, you could work around that a little bit more.
We're gonna try.
Because I don't like, you know, you killing off mature trees and putting in sticks.
I'm with you.
I would simply say that, and Trustee Suisse, you and I have talked about this topic in general. I think there's a track record here of a sensitivity from TRIA and from HR Green, inactive core.
I just want to bring it up.
I get it, but I don't want to see the legacy project of this town designed around a golf course and, to your point, you know, up and down fairways. Do we want to be sensitive? And I think, have we been sensitive on this project every step of the way on not unnecessarily removing trees? I think the proof is in the pudding, and I think it's out there right now. And I would also say, just in general on this project, I think anybody that walks this 100 acres with a park that is well on its way to being developed, and you can start to see the amphitheater may not be there, maybe things aren't, but you start to, especially when you look at the plans, you start to see it. When you walk this 100 acres, it is a very nature-based project, right? The entire section from the front to the back, all the way around the back, that is all unimpeded nature preserves, right? I think maybe more than some of us would have actually preferred there. We've been good on that. It's been a give and take. So we haven't taken active rec and squeezed it into every corner of this park. So I think we've taken all views into account to the point we're at right now, and we've been sensitive to the tree issue, and I give you guys credit on that.
Jim, if we contact Homer Tree to see if any could be pulled up, replanted, so we're not...
There was a lot of them, if you remember during the design, we were saying a lot of them were going to be pulled up if they were still viable and still, you know, healthy enough to survive a transplant, and then transplanted to what we called like the council ring area and the activity area, if I remember correctly. No, the open play area. So that is something that we need to discuss in terms of the design, because just taking that and relocating them and the cost for that and so forth.
I know Homer Tree will work with this, so, I mean, just so we do look into it.
Sure.
Okay. Any other questions or concerns? We're all set with this one? Okay. Madam Clerk, please follow the roll.
Trustee Tasmino?
Yes.
Trustee Burden?
Yes.
Trustee Sweet?
Aye.
Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Trustee Gray?
Aye.
And I also say aye.
I'm very looking forward to this. It's going to be exciting for the whole village here. This is going to be a really cool project, and it'll set you up for a long, long time.
Well, we appreciate you helping us out with the price and everything that we've done so far. It's been very positive. So thank you.
Good to hear. Thank you.
Okay. Next would be the workshop item. This is going to be on Glen Walk Park discussion. Carrie, you doing this one? Or?
Actually, Mr. Walsh is going to do it.
Thank you. So I know it's been about 10 months since we've last discussed Glenview Walk and park prioritization at the board level, so I wanted to kind of take a step back and bring you guys up to speed on and kind of recap what the Parks Committee has talked about for parts of 2018 and a lot of 2019, and then kind of look back to the actual site and discussing how to move forward with Glenview Walk. So back in 2018, the resident came to the Parks Committee asking for a park or playground to be constructed on the village-owned lot in Glenview Walk, and that kind of sparked a discussion amongst the Parks Committee to take a look back at the 2013 Parks Master Plan and kind of decide where neighborhood parks should be. We recognize that Heritage Park is kind of a beast in and of its own, but we didn't want to forget the need for neighborhood parks. There's a lot of space in town, or a lot of areas in town that might not be directly served by Heritage Park. Heritage Park's more of a kind of destination park. There's more special amenities there than you would see in a traditional neighborhood park. So the Parks Committee didn't want to forget that. So we we reviewed the 2013 plan and looked at a map that was in there that kind of had proposed park sites and park service sites. Now you'll notice that this map has a number of sites that are listed as parks that I wouldn't call parks. We have many. Glenview Walk Park is shown here, as well as Amberfield Park and Mediview West Park. These are some of these lots that the village owns, but aren't necessarily buildable. Some of them the village doesn't even own. I'm not sure why they were included at the time. But it also, you see the purple circles are proposed park sites in some areas in the village that have a lot of homes, but no playground within walking distance. And that 2013 plan kind of states out a goal that neighborhood parks should service about a half mile. That's kind of the standard nationally for a service area for a neighborhood park. That's usually the smaller park that serves people within about a 10-minute walk from the park. So the Parks Committee took a look at these, at 8 locations or areas within the village. And after kind of talking about some of these proposed park sites, the committee really focused and drilled down to the sites where it was actually feasible to develop a park, sites that the village owned or that other public bodies owned.
Township properties.
Yes, specifically township properties. So back in March and April of last year, the Parks Committee kind of made an official recommendation to prioritize Glenview Walk, Meadowview West, and Country Woods Twin Lakes areas as priorities for parks development. So I just wanted to address the Meadowview West is another village-owned lot. You can see it here, it's shaded in the blue area. This is just kind of a further back to show you where it is within that subdivision. And when we get closer in, you'll notice that it's not an ideal lot for development. It's on a stub street, and there's a utility service building there, and there's no real turnaround spot or kind of lack of parking there for potential visitors to that lot. So that kind of pushed Glenview Walk's lot to the forefront, and in addition to public feedback and residents coming to the Parks Committee meetings. So again, the shaded blue lot is the village-owned lot at Glenview Walk. That lot's about 0.9 acres, a similar size to Meadowview West. And you can see here it's kind of crudely drawn, but the dimensions of what we consider the buildable area, that's not on the downslope into that detention pond. It's about 65 feet by 300 feet. It's not a rectangle naturally, but that's kind of the loose area that me and John Robinson consider the buildable area there. So after that workshop with the board last April, when we kind of discussed those findings, me and John Robinson met with a representative from Cunningham Recreation to discuss what could be actually built on this lot, even though it is fairly small compared to other parks that we have in the village. So after talking with Cunningham Recreation, they gave us a proposed area with just kind of standard play equipment to service 2 to 12-year-old kids. And this table here kind of explains what the expectation would be for an actual playground footprint. Now, the playground footprint is just the area that has the mulch or rubber that kind of covers the fall zone around playground equipment. So you'll notice that even though Glenview Walk Estates would be the smallest village-owned park, and you can see that with the size of the park acres, when it comes to the actual just playground, ignoring the basketball courts and the open space and pavilions, that the proposed plan, it's very realistic to fit a comparable playground size into that lot. And for reference, this is an aerial of the plan that Cunningham Recreation had, that we worked with Cunningham Recreation on. And I'll just point out that the dimensions of this aerial, it's about 65 feet by 134 feet wide, which only is about half the width of that lot. So to the point that the Burks brought up in public comment about locating it within that lot, this playground example that we've been kind of working with is only about half the size of that full lot. So where we located, we will have to decide in the design phase, but it's not necessarily that the playground will cover the entirety of that lot. And then just for reference, this is just kind of renderings of the equipment that was shown on that aerial of what could fit there. Fairly traditional, one side would be 2 to 5, and the other side would be 5 to 12. That's kind of standard design for playgrounds and swing sets to accommodate each of those age groups. So cutting down recreation along with putting that plan together gave us estimated equipment costs that we wanted to share and discuss here. So the biggest cost difference you'll notice is the surface. So the equipment, the actual playground, the slides, the swings are going to be the same for each, but you'll notice option one is a mulch kind of engineered wood fiber surface, and then poured in place is a rubber surface like you would see out around the fitness stations at the active core, as opposed to the mulch that is in the nature play area of the active core. And you'll see that that's about $106,000 in its by itself, is just to do the rubber surface. There's less maintenance costs with that, but obviously the upfront cost is pretty substantial. And these costs don't include any installation or construction or design. This is just the equipment. And also comment that the pavilion wasn't shown in the rendering here, but they also included just a cost estimate for a 16-foot pavilion for seating for residents to go in between the players or wherever we were to deem fit, and that was about $12,000. So a few weeks ago, the mayor, Trustee Rogers, and myself and Carrie met with residents from Glenview Walk Estates. This was kind of after a Parks and Recreation meeting. We wanted to have a conversation with the residents that are in the subdivision, and we had about nearly 20 households were represented at the meeting, and a few of them are in attendance tonight. There was majority support for the park. But one of the things is we asked the residents if they liked the design that we had that I just showed with the rendering, or would they like to see other designs. We had kind of discussed in the staff level about the benefits of getting other designs, one, to keep costs competitive, and also just to kind of get more community feedback and get the committee involved as well. So that's where we came to two options to deliver a park if the board wanted to move forward. One would just be to take the layout or a similar layout that was shown in that rendering and just bid that out for construction and installation. Or we can do a design build RFP, which we would seek out a firm and get proposals from them to design, procure the equipment, and do the installation and construction of the park. Now the benefit of this is to potentially keep costs low. There's more options for us to consider, and there would be just one price, one firm to work with. And so we put together a draft RFP now, just in case the board wanted to move forward. And in the design build RFP, we would plan to kind of have strict guidelines in there for what we would hope to see in that park, and have a strict budget maximum. So we would include, to make it similar to what their rendering was, that we would expect play features for 2 to 5-year-olds and 5 to 12-year-olds, as well as swing sets for both, and have options for other equipment, including a pavilion or other types of equipment. So we just, the goal here tonight was just to get to a recap on what the committee's work was, and to get direction from the board on whether we wanted to move forward with the project, and if so, should we issue out an RFP for design build or go out for construction for a layout?
There's one thing I could add is that, as noted on the slide, we did ask the HOA when we had the meeting on January 30th, and what their preference would be, which option did they prefer, having seen what they've already seen so far. And every hand went up in the room that said they preferred to do the design build option, to give a few more options that they could look at as a neighborhood to see what other options might be out there to fit an appropriate playground equipment and within the site. So I just wanted to note that as well, that was something we did ask that night at the meeting, and the consensus was that their preference was to go with option number 2.
I'd also like to add that one of the sites that we looked at, which was over by Lamers, Carrie, George, and I met with the Parks Committee at the township level and asked them if they would be willing to do something potentially together on their parcel that they have there. They have 11 acres and we have nothing, but their consensus was yes, that they were open to doing that, but did reiterate that they were going for some grants. And for us to go to the board. So at the board level, it was discussed again, and what both the village and the township agreed to do and thought what was the best thing to do would be to work together on that grant. So by working together, and correct me if I'm wrong, we would accumulate more points and have a better a chance of getting those grants. And then we would really, it would be a win-win because we would have 2 new parks instead of trying to take potentially the funds that we have, splitting them up and doing that. So that's where we left it with that. We're the village, the mayor, and the supervisor have agreed to work together on trying to get some grants for, also grants for Lamers Park. And I just wanted to reiterate again what Carrie said at the meeting. First, I want to say that I know that there were some people that were upset that that the RFP was tabled, but this is exactly why we tabled it. Why it was tabled, because more information was needed than what we had. So we needed to go out, needed to be able to reach out to more of the residents that actually live there. And so thank you, Mayor, for doing that, because I think it was the best decision to do, because in the end, the residents, Marty, you can speak up because you're kind of like their guy, their representative. The residents were, my fear was that this park would be built and they would be disappointed in it, just by the materials and things. And I asked them to kind of go and look at some other parks that had the same material. And that's not what we wanted. It's a beautiful area back in their Homer Glen. We have some great parks, and I wanted it to be similar to the parks that we have in the area, and maybe something that has some more character to it, was a little bit more neutral colors or things like that. And every single hand went up and said, please give us some more choices, 3 or 4 more choices, that would be great. And and I explained to them that first of all, it wasn't absolute that the board was, that the consensus was to build a park here. So I don't want you to think that I was at the meeting saying, hey, they're going to build a park here, what do you guys want to see there? Because this is for you guys to decide. But I wanted them to have options. And then what I took away from that is that yes, they wanted options. And then what I would like to see is for us to take those 4 options to the Parks Committee and get their feedback on those 4 options, and then bring it back to you with their opinion on it. And in doing that, looking at the timeline, it might require us, and I'm sure the Parks Committee would be fine with it, I'm not assuming, but I'm hoping, is that we might have to move our Parks meeting to the end of March so that we can kind of stay on track here. So we're not missing the received proposals that'll come in, the day the Parks Committee comes, and now we're a whole month off, because that's, we'd like to try to get this to be an active park sometime in 2020 summer. So, Matt, when you guys do that, if you could take that into consideration. And in talking to the resident who's building the property next to it, no basketball, no lights. I don't think that anybody would think that we would need lights at a park like this, unless I'm making an assumption.
Is there not even going to be one solar light like there is in some of the other smaller neighborhoods?
There's no need to.
It's for little kids.
Because it's
By
so
that
close
time it
down,
starts.
no need.
But
Plus they'd be a pet.
What I would like to see is, in the proposal that goes out, we do need to take in consideration the pond in the back. And Sharon's committee was going to take into consideration the site to donate a tree, so we could put a tree by your home, take into consideration the home that's going to be built there and it's going to be most effective. So I think that's important, and I think that's also in the packet. So.
And with going with that, the big thing that they've said too is change colors.
Yes.
You don't want that blue and orange. I mean, if you made it look a little bit more natural, browns and greens. But I think it's a great idea, but we have to run it through the process just to make sure that we're good with everything.
Did I miss anything, Marty?
No, I was going to say, I mean, I agree with everything you said. I want to thank everyone for all their help with all this. And no, I thoroughly agree. You know, I started this a year and a half ago, and it was an idea from a few neighbors, and, you know, I took it and ran with it. And then after a while, you know, you sometimes do these things, and you look behind you, and there's nobody behind you. And, you know, at that meeting we had, you know, with kids, probably over 60 people. There was, you know, I was shocked. In fact, I was speechless at the meeting. I couldn't believe all those people came to support the park. And, you know, Beth's exactly right. You know, it's not about, you know, just doing it quick and, you know, me pushing it through. It's for the community. And it was great to have the community's input into it, and it's all about the kids and what they want. So, yeah, I think we're right on track, and it was the right thing to do.
I agree. Trustee Rogers did the right thing by putting a hold on it until we had an opportunity to look at everything and talk to the residents. And like she said, make sure the new homeowners, no one can live anywhere else. No one can, you know, we're going to make it to where it's right for everybody.
Mary, I have one more question. If we issue the RFP for the last bullet item, the design build, I believe it was, for not to exceed $200,000, is that going to be conclude drainage, engineering, all of the, so everything's going to be in there, it's going to be a bundle. So yeah, you know, I like the fact that it's not to exceed $200,000. And some people might quickly look at that one slide and say, well, if you've got the opportunity to spend $81,000, why would you opt to spend $200,000? And to Trustee Rogers' point, and basically everybody's point here, these are the reasons why a park is a forever thing in a neighborhood, you know, and if we rush to do this and to do it on the cheap, nobody is going to be proud of it, and but you will all be saddled with it for a very long time. So it's very prudent, and I know the residents don't always understand that, why we push something off for a month or two. They think that we're just trying to slow walk something, and really it is so that we can do our due diligence and get all of that information, so that at the end of this, everybody is happy with the ultimate outcome of it. So I too want to say thank you. I appreciate, you know, there's been a lot of blowback on that, and I think everybody suffered it fairly well, and we're going to get to a great resolution. And not only that, but you and your committee have done a lot more work beyond that by now taking what was a small sum of money, really, when you think about what our annual budget for our neighborhood park improvements was going to be, and you've now found a way to hopefully, potentially, affect two areas that have been underserved and in need. And one of those is really creative, and I laud you for that. And I hope that we'll continue to work on trying to find a way to serve some of our legacy underserved areas where we don't have land or we don't have opportunities, to go and really, you know, do a deep dive in those areas and look for those opportunities. So again, I commend you and your committee.
Thank you.
Well said.
Agreed. Ditto. I think for me, the last time we discussed this, one of the issues was the point system, scoring system, and the rankings of the park needs that the park committee had worked on, and I still had questions on that, right? While we have, according to the scoring system, we had other areas that deemed more important and had been waiting longer and various reasons. And there was still some homework that I thought needed to be done on those, so that this has never been against Glenview Walk. This has been so that we can tell residents in these other areas there's a rhyme and reason why this is now moving forward, and either we don't have land or various different things. But I just thought that was important, and you've done a great job on that process. As for the construction, the only thing I would say, my only comment on the design build is a point to the lights. I don't think anybody's talking about, you know, sport court lighting or anything. I would simply say, and I think we've learned this from experience, as we go forward and talk to professionals on this, don't limit them on what they think may be needed. If it's a solar light for safety, let's not say no on the front end just because we said the word light. No one's talking about sport court lighting and things that would be in someone's bedroom window. But if it's a down light in the center like we have in other areas, for safety purposes, let's not take that off just by saying there's no lights.
Yeah, we just ask if it's separated out, you know, so that we can, and a reason being there, you know, so that we can take it into consideration when it comes back.
Yeah, and what I'm talking about is when I talk about safety, I mean one down light sort of thing, that if you're as we have in other parks, that are not a light nuisance for any adjoining property in any way, shape, or form. But let's not make those decisions ahead of time. Let the professionals guide us on that, and then we can ultimately decide.
Good point.
I think I'm comfortable with the design build. But my last point would be what was already said. I think the mistakes of the past have been in some cases we rush and say we build a park and there maybe hasn't been as much forethought as we'd like. That's what I like about the design build here. It's going to give us multiple opportunities from different people for ideas and use of the space because this is long term and it's a lot of money. In our world, right, all these dollars are big, but this is still a lot of money for so let's do it right. So I appreciate all the effort from Parks Committee on this, and I think you've done a great job.
Any other comments?
No, I agree with option 2. I think it'll get a more natural, more variety to choose from.
Right. I agree. Okay. Well, there's no...
There's no action on it, but we'll finish up working on that RFP. Just a couple of comments. Our goal was to allow some firms to offer multiple designs, so even if we only had 1 or 2 firms bid, that we would get multiple options from each, maybe some more natural colors and the like. And we'll also include fencing and lighting as potential offerings.
So we're okay to put it out for...
Yeah, so we're not gonna bring this back for you to formally vote on putting it out. I'm just gonna take the consensus from tonight, and we're gonna get it out.
All right. Is there any old business?
Mayor, I have one item. More of maybe a comment than a discussion on something different dealt with recently. So I have 2 quick interrelated topics that I'd like to quickly talk about. One is the branding marketing that we talked about tonight, and why it's important for certainly business reasons and other reasons. And the other is the recent passage of our new sign ordinance. There's a recent example of where, in my opinion, we need to be better as a group, and we will be wasting thousands of dollars on the marketing and branding that we just approved tonight. Recently, we passed new sign ordinance in an effort to be more business friendly. We spent months as a board doing multiple workshops, visual surveys, and tweaking the details of that ordinance. CED discussed the topic and gave their input, and so it went through a very lengthy process with lots of opportunity for input. We all had ample opportunity to weigh in from the beginning and every step of the way to advocate for what we thought various changes were or weren't necessary. What we ended up passing was, in my opinion, a sign ordinance that was very pro-business. As a few examples, we simplified and clarified the confusing language, making it more user-friendly, and cutting down on variance requests, which cost businesses time and money. 2, we expanded the allowable sign types. 3, we allowed box signs. 4, we increased the multi-tenant monument sign height from 10 feet to 15 feet. 5, we allowed wall signs on secondary elevations to be the same as primary. The old ordinance restricted the secondary sign to 75% of the primary sign. Good for business. 6, we increased the allowable sign area from 65 square feet to 100 square feet for single tenant and to 120 square feet for multi-tenant. 7, we allowed masonry clad dual post signage. 8, we allowed for additional development signs for planned developments over 2 acres. 9, we increased allowable tenant panels from 4 to 6. 10, we loosened masonry requirement for monument signs, saving businesses money and construction costs. 11, we reduced the setback for monument signs in business districts from 15 to 5 feet, providing better visibility of these signs for the businesses. By my count, that's 11 pro-business changes to our signage ordinance, and I know there are more. They all begin with terms like allowed, or increased, or loosened, or expanded. Keith, Sharon, Beth, and I, along with the support of the mayor, voted to make these pro-business changes to our sign ordinance. Trustee Pazmino and Trustee Holtz voted against these pro-business changes, and I can respect that. At the time of the vote, Trustee Pazmino and Trustee Holtz said that they were no because the ordinance did not allow electronic signage. I can respect those reasons. Good people can have different opinions and not be disagreeable. I will say that not even Orland Park allows the electronic signs and inflatable waving men that they wanted, and Orland Park seems to be doing okay with business recruitment. But where this circles back to the marketing branding effort is this. I was recently forwarded social media posts that talk about our sign ordinance, our new sign ordinance being anti-business. And two of our trustees who voted against it agreeing with that narrative in multiple posts. And without even a mention of the many pro-business changes I just mentioned. That doesn't help our marketing of this town. That does not say to potential business owners, come to Homer Glen. We are working to be more business friendly. It says the opposite, in my opinion. Perfection is the enemy of progress. That's a quote I often think of and have learned to implement as an elected official on any boards I've served on. This process can be frustrating at times. You don't always get 100% of what you want. It's a democracy, not a kingdom, and that's by design. I didn't get everything I wanted in the sign ordinance, and I'm sure others can say the same. But when I agree with 95% of something in a democracy, I take the win and live to fight another day on the things I didn't get. I wish Ruben and Ann would have voted yes for the 95% of what they supported in the sign ordinance instead of no because of the 5% they didn't get. Because then they could have talked about why they voted yes on social media and helped highlight the most pro-business signage ordinance this village has ever had, while still reserving the right to continue to advocate for electric signs in the future. That's how we build a community up. That's how we tell people we're open for business. That's how you build a brand and market to new opportunities as a village, in my opinion, and I hope we can get to that soon. If not, we're wasting taxpayer dollars and working against ourselves.
Well said.
Can I respond to that?
Yes.
First of all, I wish I would have come prepared for that and written something up like you did. But at the end of the day, I mean, number one, this is my first rodeo in politics. You know, I've been a business owner in Homer Glen for 7 years, and most of that, our street has been under construction. As you know, any citizen that lives in Homer knows, and surrounding suburbs. Yes, I did vote against that signage ordinance because I didn't agree with it 100%. And for you to sit there and say that I'm anti-business, it's politics. You're taking a political stance and you're playing dirty tricks. And especially when you're going to have that put on a newspaper, I think that's despicable. And I'll be honest, I've done my best to remain cordial on this board, hearing all the bad things. And at the end of the day, I'm not anti-business, and anybody that knows me knows this. I see a fellow business owner down the street who opens a car wash who's been closed by the construction, and for us to send which code enforcement, I'm sorry? Not the Shell, the express wash that was closed out because of the construction. And for us to send code enforcement down to pretty much shut him down and fine him because the little guy's trying to make business, and I'm looking after him, you know. So yeah, I took it to social media. Was I wrong? Probably. Who knows? I react. I'm a compassionate man. That's not my fault. But let's help him out. Let's not close him down. Your rules should be made for the people, not for political purposes. Yeah, we got rules, but let's sit back, let's talk to the guy. Let's say, you know what, you're wrong, but let's help you correct it. Let's not close you down and fine you $500 per day. That makes no sense. I'm here for the people, the businesses, not you guys. Thank you.
Well, here, just for your information,
Yeah.
it was not closed down due to 100.
It was not closed down.
No, it was not closed down. That was her prerogative to close it down because she was in a fight with the state for more money. She wanted the building to be paid.
I get that, I understand that.
But the whole.
But the whole fact is that under circumstances, you know, everybody is here for business, to make a living. I get that, it's not your fault. It's nobody here's fault that the state closed, you know, because of what they did, the road construction. You know, sometimes to grow, you have to make sacrifices. I get that. Nobody's saying anybody here is wrong about that. What we are saying, though, is given the circumstances, you know, they're open now. Doesn't matter why they were closed or what, they're open now. Okay, we understand that, you know, due to the construction, you had to, you know, the easement issue that they had, the driveway was blocked. I mean, they couldn't have any business. They're still paying fees and taxes, and they're still paying all kinds of stuff. Let me finish. The fact that they reopened to gain back some of that money, be it whatever the circumstances, and then we send code enforcement down there to take a sign down. I get it. We don't allow flag signs. We don't allow digital signs, because you forgot to mention that. I don't agree with that. This is the second business. Okay, touch green, same thing happened. We're all in this together on 159, okay? It kills me that the village who's supposed to be there to back up business is sending code enforcement down twice. And I'm not gonna mention any names on this board, but there's weekend warriors that go down looking to see what businesses aren't following the rules. Well, guess what, you know, let's go talk to them. Let's say, hey, you know what, you're doing that wrong, but let's help you do it right. You know, guys, I understand that everybody has to follow rules. You guys often compare yourselves to other towns. Well, let's be the town that shows, let's pep the little guy up, you know? And I know what you're going to say. I get it. I'm the only guy here, all right? So, I mean, I don't know.
Well, just to clarify a few things, because I've been on this since.
I'm sorry, but the other person that was supposed to be here is not here, so you guys are kind of pinning me by myself, which is great, because I've taken down bigger and better, that's not a problem. But I will address and I will defend the businesses of Homer Glen and the constituents, and I'm sorry, that's the stance I take.
All right. And Ruben, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that.
There obviously is, because I'm getting nailed for it. And he's coming after me with it, and he blindsided me with it, didn't even give me the chance to prepare for it and say, hey, Ruben, I'm coming after you, make sure you got your notes together. So that was kind of, well, from what I understand, that's to be expected from you.
Okay, well, let me re-clarify, because it sounds like several of these things have been taken out of context, whether on purpose or not. I didn't call you
out of
anti-business.
context. You said that we signed a bill that was anti-business. How dare you say that?
You voted against an ordinance.
I voted against an ordinance I didn't agree 100% on, and you know that.
That was the point I made.
No, that wasn't the point you made.
Yeah, it was.
This is a discussion.
I am sorry, I apologize. I'm passionate about my business and the businesses of others in my town. I'm sorry.
We all are. That's why we passed an ordinance that has
ordinance. That's all you guys want to say. Ordinance, law. Come on, man.
Well,
I get it. Okay.
Can I have a minute to respond?
Go right ahead.
That's why the point was exactly that. I didn't call you anti-business.
You said we voted against the business. Read your speech. Pull it up again. I'll read it for you. I'll highlight it.
The point being, 95% of that ordinance you agreed with, right? If not more.
But the main meat of it, you guys denied it.
The electronic sign, right? The electronic sign issue was your issue. After months of workshops and meetings and everything, it was the last workshop at the last minute that you brought up electronic signs and asked us why we didn't support electronic signs, right? And so then we went to the next meeting in which we voted on the ordinance, and you voted no and said it was because of electronic signs, which in my remarks, I said, I respect that. That's not my issue, right? I voted for the dozen pro-business things, for all the things you just said about helping the businesses in this town. That was the intent of what we passed, right? That's why we passed 12 pro-business, and that's just part of the list.
I get that, but most of the things that you passed, some of the people here can't afford. A flag sign will cost the poor guy, look, that flag sign that he put cost him what, $200-300? For that small amount, that guy was able to bring in a ton of business because when you're driving down 159th Street, you can't see that that guy even exists. Car washes are not a planned event. There's something that you're driving down the street, oh, there's a car wash, boom, let me pull in. But if they're already running past that guy and they don't see the sign because he doesn't have the frontage for it, he doesn't have an easement for it, the guy has no sign. So for us to go ahead and take that guy's poor flag sign down, and we're basically saying up yours. That's what we're saying to these poor people that can't afford all of the other 15 things that you passed. Well, guess what? The 2 that count, you didn't. And I'm for that. You could write it down however you want to write it. Newspaper, make sure you get that right. I'm sorry, that's not flying with me.
Okay, so if you're, and this is where I think we just have a respectful disagreement. And again, in my remarks, I said we can disagree without being disagreeable. Why I brought it here is because, let me finish. Why I brought it here is because for 5 years, every comment I've had for, against, any issue we've had, I've done at this dais, right? The limited free time I have, I choose to spend with my kids and my family, and I don't go on social media and do the back.
We all have limited free time, sir. You're not the only one. I'm a business owner, and I'm sorry about my kids. I have 2 dogs. I love my dogs too.
Let me finish. Not saying I am. That's not the point. The point being, I choose to use that free time in a different way. So I keep it professional at this dais, which is why I bring my comments to this dais. I don't go, and the overriding point of this was one saying we can do better so that the marketing of this town isn't what is on social media, and that we're anti-business because we don't allow the electronic signs and the waving men that not even Orland Park allows, that we're anti-business, when the real story is all of the other things we just passed that are pro-business, and my opinion on that is that harms us. So when we're going to spend $25,000 on a branding effort to talk about the good things in this town, as we have elected officials that agree with 95% of an ordinance, but on the other 5 voted no, and that's what they want the narrative to be, that's the only issue I have. None of this was personal. None of this was meant, I didn't know.
Nobody said personal. Nobody said personal. Well, you knew that you were going to come at me with that last statement.
Coming at
you, sir, and you said it. And number 1, you said you spent $25,000 on a branding. Well, let's spend $50 more and allow everybody to be able to survive in the town, even the little guy. That's all I'm saying. I'm upset because of the way you came at me in that last statement, and you know exactly what you did. You do it to Holtz all the time. You know what? God bless her. She has her ways of doing her stuff, but I'm not going to put up with it. I'm sorry. You talk about respect, sir, then you have the respect to prepare me, and we go and we talk about it. Yes, you know what? I did it on social media. Why? Look at how many people are in this room. Homer doesn't know what's going on here. Why? Because they don't come to these meetings, which is half my fight. Okay, great. That's something we got to deal with, right? But at the end of the day, we want attention to the issue. And unfortunately, 90% of the town, actually 98 probably, don't come to these meetings. So where do we get it out? Where do we let people know?
With a camera, right there with a newspaper.
And that's great. And social media too.
No, I have no problem.
Sorry, that's my view, guys. That's my view.
You're jumping to topics that are not the point because they may serve of
what's not the point.
I don't have a problem with social media.
Sure, what's not the point?
The point is taking a 5% of an ordinance and making that the narrative publicly that somehow those of us up here are anti-business, when the fact is we all voted for the most pro-business sign ordinance this town has had. Now, it may not be enough for you. I understand
it's not enough for the other guy that's got a mic. He might have to quote. And you know what? I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry, Your Honor. I'm sorry. You guys act like I woke up one morning and decided to write an article about it. It was a situation that arose twice this year in which a business owner is trying to make money to survive for their families, given the situation on 159th. What do as a board? We shut them down. Not business, but we go and say, if you try to make money right now, we're going to fine you. Instead of saying, look, let's work together. Maybe there's something that we could issue. Maybe, who knows, maybe you and I could work on something in which we say, look, construction-ridden areas, streets, whatever, you get a pass. or not even a pass. You get 6 months until you get, get everything together. Maybe we do a review board or whatever, and a variance. And they say, namely, and you know what? Just so you guys don't try to get me on, what's the term? Where I'm trying to benefit from this, exclude me in my business. I want nothing to do with it. Give the other people on 159th the chance to make the money they've been losing for 7 years. That's all I'm saying. Let's discuss that with the 25 grand that we spent on branding and all that. Well, okay, great. What about that? That's all I'm saying. And you know what? I have nothing against you, sir, personally. Nobody on this board, which is something that I want to get on record right now. The energy that I get when I come into this room is, I don't like it. Because we're all on the same team. We're all here for the constituents. We're all here for the residents and the businesses. We should work together. I get it. And I'm glad you're smiling because that's good. But at the end of the day, guys, the fact of what you said that took me to, normally I'm not going to do this, but it is not true that I voted against business. Because that's what you said on there. I voted, and you can't twist that stuff. Because that's
Ruben,
very
because
sensitive
your vote,
stuff.
none of these pro-business ordinance changes.
And we
would
take
be
it
in
back to the
effect.
drawing board.
None of these would be in effect.
And we take it
That's
back
my
to the drawing board and we get it right.
You have that process.
We'll do it again.
The months.
We'll do it again.
We just disagreed. The mayor and the majority of the board disagreed, and we were professional about it.
Okay, what do you constitute as professional?
We
The
went
way
through
you
the
came
whole
at
process
me,
of
the way you
leading
came at
after
me,
the-
that's professional?
I did that. No. I should have gone to social media, and I should have posted these comments on social media.
Why not?
That would have been
Let
more
everybody
professional.
know. Well, I guess
did it in
professionality, I guess, is
because I've
relative, I
kept
guess.
everything for 5 years.
Sorry, I'm not the career politician here. I'm just a business owner trying to
I'm
make
here as
it.
a career politician. We are here as public servants.
Yes, we are, sir. Yes,
And as
we
for the
are. And I'm-
lights, if you would have done some homework with the lights, that had nothing to do with this.
Do homework with what lights?
With the lights like they have at Touch of Green and at the car.
I know exactly what was going on.
That was done, it was approved by Will County. As soon as Homer Glen Incorporated,
Right?
do you know that if they break, they cannot put them back out again?
Yeah, so I mean, broken the grandfather code, I get it. And you know what? I mean, that's,
So all he's trying to say, and all we're trying to say is, you have two companies right now that we did let them move. Originally, when we decided that with 159th Street, and it says in our ordinances that if something happens when the sign has to be taken down, they can't put it back up. We let them put it back up because it still worked. We allowed them to move it to where it was supposed to. The library wanted one, Big Red wanted one. You don't know the amount of people that wanted it. That is an eyesore, an absolute eyesore. Like he said, we're tiny here compared to Orland Park. Orland Park doesn't allow them either because it is an eyesore. Not only an eyesore, it's also a way that cars can get in accidents. Because it's been 2 times now, tonight don't count, but where the light was so bright, I couldn't see the street. So
you're saying the light was so bright, that's
coming off the sign, when they do, well, sometimes even for Touch of Green, when it's 4th of July, and he has that sign going, and it flashes real quick, and then all of a sudden this bright light, you lose vision for a second, because it's like someone just took a picture.
when I spoke on that, I said we can control it, and that's not the main point of what this was all about. What it was all about was a flag sign will not make you veer off into a thing. But that's whatever. The flag thing, whatever. The point is, my response to him was more geared towards what was said at the end. All right?
Well, here, let's all be grown-ups for a second here, because as for social media is such a waste of time.
I don't think so.
And, well, you know what?
I don't think so, sir.
The only reason most people don't read it is because it's just someone trying to stir the pot because it's too calm. And when they tell things, they don't tell the whole story. They tell bits and pieces. The one thing that I have to agree with him on is for social media, there's really not a way to answer it without getting into a fight, and there's no sense in fighting over anything. It just, to me, social media is, I don't like it one iota. I don't look at it. The only time I find out about it is when they say something about me and my kids find out and go, oh my God, Dad, did you see what they're saying about you? I don't really care what they're saying about me because you know what? I know everyone up on this board is busting their rear ends to make sure what's right for this village. not for themselves. There's not one person in here that is looking for something on their own. And if you really pay attention to what we really have been doing here, we've been busting our rear ends for it. The park out here, because there were a few things in, because now I will just tell you what the kids had told me, that we're peeing money away in the park, and that I'm loading my pockets with money because this complex is going to fill me up with money. I haven't taken anything. We go to grand opening, I don't even eat their food. I want everyone to come in here and prosper. That's what they're coming into this village for, is to make some money. So no one's given the credit to the board on how hard they're working to make sure that the residents in this village get more than they're looking for. And that's what it should be in the first place. To put something on social media that is not, it wasn't pleasant the way it was put in there. Ruben, they could have worded it different. I don't know who put it in, but it could have been worded differently. And it
You know specifically what, sir? Because I read it and I saw nothing that was off key. If anything, it was a collaboration of thoughts, which is what social media is, freedom of speech.
You know what? But there's a difference.
And there was no nastiness on it, on the contrary.
If you are telling the honest God's truth, knock your socks off.
Yeah, we did tell the truth. We said that we voted against the Senate ordinance. There was nothing that was, actually, I would love for you, I will resign if you can show me something of what you're saying, as far as me saying something bad.
I don't know.
Or false. Actually, I'm sorry, something false. I will resign right now. Show me something on that thread that I said, or Ann Holtz for that matter, that was false.
I don't think anybody said that, and that's where we keep jumping to things that haven't been said here.
Oh,
What was said here
okay.
tonight is a defense that when I have, when you finish, when I have a member of my committee, CED, and I know how many hours have been put into not just the sign ordinance, but any number of things we've done over the last couple of years in an effort to be more business friendly. Whether it's the use tables, there is a laundry list. But when I have a member of my committee coming in who is a volunteer and is forwarding me social media activity in which we have trustees agreeing with an anti-business, again, not saying you said anti-business, agreeing with comments that are saying we're anti-business because we don't allow the waving flag or the waving man, things like that. This was setting the record straight on that it's a defense of that this is not an anti-business, and if the threshold here is you've got to be for 100% of what any business would want in this town, or you're anti-business, which has been the sentiment that builds there and gets, I think, reinforcement at times. That's the issue here. I've been targeted on social media personally.
Not by me.
Several times, many times.
Just clarifying.
Haven't said it was
We
you.
like indirects here. We like indirects.
Haven't said it was you. I've been targeted personally on completely false BS multiple times, to the point where my children at school are saying, Dad, one of my friends said, you may be involved, similar to what the mayor says, which is BS. Now, one time have I come to this dais and said, you know what, I've been targeted personally, so I want to make this about me. None of my comments were about defending me. It was about my view on the narrative that is built at times while we're doing and passing things that are pro-business regularly up here, that the narrative that's being put forth at times is that we're somehow still anti-business because we don't allow the electronic flashing signs up and down 159th Street, or the waving men up and down every corridor.
It's a combination of things.
That's the pushback. That is the thing.
Can you agree with me? I know you want your closing statement from the paper, but hold on. I mean, we get it. I get it. Can I just agree to disagree, right? And can we say something for at the end? I'm done after this, Sharon. I'll be done after this. Can we, you and I, work on something together, all right, as a show of solidarity, and say, let's come up with something for businesses that have been affected for, you're not even close, I'm not done yet.
Of course.
Oh. Can we work on something that will provide businesses that have been affected by construction or hardships of any sort that we can confirm and validate, and give them some sort of just an easier way of being able to promote their businesses temporarily, just until they get back on their feet. Let's say, 6 months, 3 months, whatever. Just something to show them that, hey, we're looking out for you. we'll embrace you, bring you in, we'll take care of you. Why? Because you belong to one of us. Can we do something like that?
I will tell you that I'm not speaking for myself alone. I think we're all open to those ideas. We just went through a process that was months long, and then it sounds like you're talking about some sort of temporary signage.
We missed that part. Yeah, okay.
Okay, but you were here for every part of it.
I
That
was.
was in the opportunity.
Absolutely. You'll have to forgive me, sir, I'm not seasoned like the rest of you, but after today, trust me.
I know, we're all career politicians.
Yes,
I get that.
absolutely,
I get it.
absolutely, 100%.
Nothing in my comments, just for the record, and I mean this sincerely, nothing in my comments were personal attacks of you.
That last part was, and you know it.
What part?
Why were you getting after me? That's why I blew up.
That you voted against the
business.
pro-business things that...
Yes, you said, well, I mean, come on, we know how the game
Well,
works.
that's a fact.
Okay, it's not a fact. I voted against an ordinance that was not complete.
I will sincerely work with anybody on this board, as I always have.
Okay, great, that's all I needed to hear.
Okay?
All right, wait a minute, Mayor. As much as I don't want to prolong this, I do have one thing I would like to say, and it goes straight to what Trustee Pasmino said about, that we're sending out code enforcement, and I don't know who sends out code enforcement, to be real honest with you. I don't, it's not my lane. I don't do that. But what I do, when we go through those workshops, and we go through all of these exercises, where we're making sure that we've got everything in the ordinance that we can get in there, that we want to get in there, I do, a great part of why I sit in this chair, and I came from a committee and I came to this board, was because this is a decision-making board. It ends here. And I don't ever want somebody giving up my power without my permission. So when I vote on an ordinance and it becomes a law of this town, I expect staff to go out there and enforce that. Whether it's the good portions or the bad portions, it's not really, and staff that says nothing against them, they know I hold them in such professional esteem. But it's really not in their lane to decide, yes, no, on how they administer the laws that we have put in place. I expect them to do that. If they have some issues where they're seeing a lot of issues and they think we need to know about that, they'll bring that to our attention and say, maybe you guys might want to look at this. There are some extenuating circumstances.
That's what I'm
But
talking about.
that is how they would communicate that back to us. They don't make that decision. So
I
I
get
don't
that.
want to give up our power and just say, they can go out there and say, well, this guy
I
can
get
get
a
a
rebuttal.
rebuttal and somebody else can't. So.
And Trustee Gray, I agree with you 100%. Nobody's asking anybody to break any laws or treat anybody better than anybody else. But what we can do is report back to the village manager and the staff, and not just about black and white writing tickets. I mean, we compare ourselves. Sometimes we say we don't want to be like other villages. Well, great, let's take that all the way. Let's, instead of just making it black and white, chopping it down, especially for streets like 159, let's come back and meet and say, look, why don't we all get together and work on something? They're really suffering on that street.
We did put a moratorium in place on the signage enforcement along almost for the entire stretch of it. Certainly when it's down to 2 lanes.
That was for, we could have done a lot more. And I'm talking as a business owner on 159. Coming soon, 143rd is going to be under construction. I mean, that should be something that we should be getting together now. And I'll be glad to help with it.
Okay. Is there any other old business? Is there any new business? Is there a motion to adjourn?
I so move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Do we have an all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Meeting adjourned.